Good morning. I always do my videos in the morning, and I sometimes don't take the time to get dressed up or fix my hair or makeup. But today I was able to have a little more time. And I think about things before I get on the video, what I'm going to talk about. And the title of all of my videos is Shattered Pieces by Luli. And my given name is Mary Lou Herman. If you want to look up my channel, look up Mary Lou Herman, Shattered Pieces by Luli. So today I want to talk about the caterpillar and the butterfly. So there's a lot of people that use the butterfly for a symbol. And born again people express their feelings of saying that they are like a butterfly born again out of the cocoon. But, after you go on with your life and walk with the Lord, you're an old butterfly. And I think we forget. So I am a 74-year-old person, and I think probably my audience is people my age. These videos are not for children. So I like to talk about things that are on my mind, about things that are going on in our country right now. And there is a big question on everyone's heart and mind about identity and gender issues. So I am a storyteller and I write stories. And sometimes when I write a story, it's coming from within me about childhood memories, and it sounds like a story that could be for a child. But this one story, I wrote the story of a little caterpillar. So before I write a story, I usually do a little bit of research. I look up words in the dictionary. So I looked up the word caterpillar in the dictionary, and something came out that I have never read before, and I've never learned this before. But a caterpillar has two sets of legs. There are the outer legs and the inner legs. And as I began to write, I really don't have a lot of forethought. I just write things down that are on my heart. And I'm also a very introspective person. I'm always looking inside of myself to see if I've done anything wrong or displeasing to God or my friends or my family. I'm always looking inside. I am always a person who's looking for my identity inside of me. And I believe because I lost my identity when I was 8 years old, there was a family crisis. And it was directed at me, and I was not at fault. So it created this gap for me where I began to hide within myself and not be able to talk in the family. And then the family didn't talk to me. So I went to school though, and in my social world, I did talk. I had friends at school, I had teachers and studies and things to do. But when I came home, I was quiet, and I was afraid of the yelling in the family, and I didn't yell back because I was a child. But one thing I always did was I always wanted to know the truth. I used to go to my mother and say, "Tell me the truth. Tell me the truth." Now, little children know things from the inside, whether they are told or not. And children always know things, which is unexplainable. Can't explain it. But after I got older and I had 3 babies in 3 years, as fast as you can do it, my emotions and my body just couldn't take it. and I had a postpartum depression. So if you calculate the months and the years, 3 babies in 3 years, that was 1982, 1983, and 1984. And I did have another child later on, a couple years later. But in that 3-year period, my body was going through a lot of physical changes on the outside and on the inside. And when you're taking care of infants, your whole being is consumed with little tiny problems that are for that person and the other person and the other person. And I had a husband back then, and he was not helping. So I had been a Christian for a long time, but my life as a Christian sort of took a sidebar, a sidestep, because I was consumed with taking care of babies. But anyhow, I was always questioning my identity. So let's go back to the caterpillar. There was a set of legs on the outside and a set of legs on the inside. So in my story that I tell, there are 2 caterpillars talking to each other. And one of them says, "Hi, what kind of caterpillar are you? Are you a boy caterpillar or a girl caterpillar?" And the voice of the caterpillar was coming from the inside. So the first caterpillar's name was Tommy. The second caterpillar's name was Susie. So Tommy and Susie were talking. And they were young in their growth, so there were not a lot of signs of to show on the outside if they were a boy caterpillar or a girl caterpillar. So all they had was what was on the inside. So when I looked it up in the dictionary and it said 2 sets of legs, I thought, even human beings have 2 sets of ideas. We have the ideas of the outside, how we look, how we want to present ourselves to the world, how we dress up, how we put makeup on, how we do our hair, and for the male people, what t-shirt they wear and what, shorts they wear. Anyhow, I talk in metaphors a lot, and I like to use metaphors. So I would like everybody listening to realize that this story is not about caterpillars and butterflies. It's about human beings. So as the conversation went on, Tommy said, "Well, I know that someday I'm going to come out of this cave." And Susie says, "Well, how do you know that?" And Tommy says, "Well, on the inside of me, inside of my place where I live now, my cocoon, I think about things that are on the inside." And Susie said, "Yes, I do too." So Tommy says, "I don't have any way to think that or know that I'm a boy or a girl." And Susie says, "Well, I don't have any way to know either." And Tommy says, "Well, what do you feel like down deep inside? What's on the inside of your heart?" And Susie says, "Well, on the inside of my heart, I'm mixed up." And Susie says, I don't believe in myself. I don't know that I'm going to come out of this cave. I don't know that I'm going to be given a life that is more interesting than being down here in this space where I feel I have no identity, I have no worth, I have no self-worth, I have no self-esteem. And Tommy says, "Whoa, what are those things?" Because male people just don't understand emotions. So Susie says, "Well, you learn about emotions in here in the cave. You learn about how you can be safe in this cave." And Tommy says, "I don't feel safe." I feel like I want to go out and play in a ball game. And Susie says, well, how do you know you want to play in a ball game? You haven't even come out of your cave yet. And Tommy says, well, I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to wiggle my inside legs and I'm going to think about it. Just for a minute though, because I'm not a long thinker. And Susie says, okay, well, I'll do the same. We're going to close our eyes and we're going to think about it, right? And Tommy says, well, you know, I don't have too much in my brain of longevity to think about things for a very long time, Susie, so it's going to be quick, just for a second. Okay, so they closed their eyes inside of their cave, which was their cocoon, and Susie wiggled her legs and she said, well, I'm hearing the word pretty. I think I hear the word pretty down inside. And I was told that there are a lot of girl caterpillars that know they're going to be pretty someday. What do you think, Tommy? And he said, well, I did close my eyes, but I saw a picture behind my eyes as I wiggled my inner legs. I saw a football and some black and gold colors. So it comes time for the butterflies to be born and to come out of their cocoon. And so Tommy does struggle to get out of his cocoon, and his outside legs turned into wings, but they were folded up on the inside of his cocoon. They were all folded up. And they had to struggle with their lengths because they were tucked in down inside of this cocoon. But they were on the outside. They were the outside parts, outside legs. And so they were beating their, moving these wings around that weren't wings yet, but they were moving them, trying to get the cocoon to open. But the time came and the season came, and the cocoon opened on its own, and Tommy wiggled his little head out, and he took his inside legs and folded them inside and hid them. And then the beautiful wings stretched out and came out. And Tommy actually was like a monarch butterfly. And he was orange and black. And so his friend Susie was on the other tree, and she also was coming out in the same season, and the season of time where her cocoon was opening up at the right time. And she popped her little head out and she wiggled her head and she went like that. The girls are always trying to get their hair to go back. So she went like that. She came out and her wings were like the colors on my shirt, pink and turquoise and a little bit of white, a little bit of blue, a little bit of orange. And she looked down and she said, Tommy. And he said, what? She said, I think I know. And Tommy said, what do you know? And Susie said, I can see me now and my wings, and I can see me. I am a girl caterpillar. Well, I don't think I'm a caterpillar anymore. I'm a butterfly. And Tommy said, yes, I'm a butterfly too, but I don't have colors like you. And so they flew around and slid around, and that's the end of the story. And so I believe that everybody on the earth has things on the inside. Not legs, of course, but your heart, your mind, your emotions, your spirit. And I believe that when you're a child, you can be frightened by outside noises, outside yelling and screaming. And you can hide yourself inside and get down into a cave. Now, psychology people talk about it and they give it names, and they want to give you a pill to change your life. But it's really all about a broken heart. It's all about feeling the feelings on the inside. And if you feel a feeling of not being accepted, if you feel feelings of low self-esteem and low self-worth, and you like the way other people look better than you, and that's really called envy. And if you want to be like somebody else, that's called coveting and jealousy. And there's things that people do when they get older. Women who are single women that live in senior high-rises, they sometimes try to dress like the other one, or dye their hair like somebody dyed their hair. And you know, people on the earth, we're all connected in what is called the body. And if you're connected with Jesus, you're in the body of Christ. And it's not a single thing, it's a joint thing. And there's a lot of people that know Jesus. And then if you're not connected to Jesus, you still are finding groups. There's a lot of groups that people are in, that they see somebody that looks like them, or they feel the same feelings, or they go towards that group and they end up having maybe 10 or 12 people that they know really well, and they become friends with those. And you know, like-minded people join together and try to function in clubs and groups and going out to dinner, you know. So I believe that what's happening in our country is based in all the terrifying outer things, like the wars and the threat of disease, the fears that have come upon people since the COVID disease. A lot of people lost things, lost their job and lost their place. But you know, this isn't an old story. When people were living in Europe, they lost things, and they came over on a boat and they changed their names and had to start over. So I'm ending this video and I'm telling you thank you for listening, and I'll be back again.